Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and I'm here today to talk to you about the post-2017 reevaluation of Scream 3. So as I'm making my last Scream video that I just posted, I forgot how to spell the name Kincaid for like Mark Kincaid. So I went to Wikipedia and I looked up Scream 3. And then I saw a weird article I've never read before because I haven't researched Scream 3 in like forever. And so apparently post the Me Too movement, a lot of people are rethinking Scream 3. And they're rethinking it in all the worst ways. And this has happened in a lot of media in today's modern times. Basically, anything that's going on in today's pop culture world or social climate and stuff, they look at past movies or past TV shows and find them problematic. I understand that. I've even mentioned that, like, you know, in my videos. Like, whenever I'll like make a video, I'll say, like, you know, this character or this movie or this certain scene is very problematic, like, you know, today. But I never try to like take away from what that scene was, because it was filmed and shot and, you know, in a different time era, and, you know, different things happen. Kind of like American Pie, the first one, when Jim recorded that girl, like, you know, naked and touching herself and stuff, which is completely and totally wrong, and he should be found accountable for that. But you gotta remember that movie was made in the 90s and people thought humor as a very different thing back then and other stuff. And also the reason why he did that is because Jim is a very dokey, nerdy guy who's never been with a girl, and he's like extremely horny and everything. And he listened to his dumb, idiotic friends who were also horny and pervy and everything, and he did that. So it shows something that many people, both men and women, do secretly and stuff, which they have no business doing. Is making commentary on something that's relevant of that time. And as we have seen in, you know, and as the years have passed, people have now been arrested for stuff like that. It's not doing it per se to be gross and nasty. It's doing it to show just how pervy and horny these young guys who never had sex before would do and everything. And, you know, and it's quite a shame, and it is problematic, but, you know, like I said before, you know, it was a different time era, and it is to show why something like that is wrong. Now, going back to that of Scream 3. Now, as we all know, in the Scream franchise, Harvey Weinstein is a monster, and he used to produce that of the Scream movies with Dimension Films and stuff. And, you know, he is no longer attached to him. And, you know, but the article is not necessarily about him. It's about other stuff. A lot of people, mainly women, are upset with the portrayal of Maureen Prescott, and also that one movie producer dude within the Scream franchise, the Stab movies, the one who, like, you know, tried to make Maureen Prescott a star back in the day. Basically, they saw parallels to him and Harvey Weinstein. And in 2017, this one woman, Kristen Yoon Soo Kim, I believe her name is, was talking about John Milton, of course, the producer and dude, and, like, you know, talking about how, like, you know, he would have sex with a lot of his, like, actresses, and he would promise them leading roles if they would, like, you know, do him and stuff like that. And, like, you know, how, like, he tried to make Maureen a star, but it didn't work out, and he was, like, sleeping with her, and he had all these, like, hidden room, and, like, you know, and kind of like a Hugh Hefner type thing, you know. And people again upset at like that. But what people are forgetting is that that is Hollywood. I'm not justifying it, but what I'm saying is the writers and the producers of that movie were smart to bring this up. They're letting people know, hey, those who are not in Hollywood and those that like watch movies and those that are in Hollywood and don't experience this gross behavior happens in Hollywood, and it's been happening for decades. The 70s, 80s, 60s, 50s, like you name it and everything. A lot of leading actresses who's been in some of these famous movies only got those roles because they slept with like producers or directors or something like that. The movie isn't shaming nobody or degrading women. What it's doing is letting people know what Hollywood is really about. And that's something the Me Too era helped bring forward and everything. Because people watched this movie and they didn't think of nothing like that, you know? So it didn't drill in people's heads. And I find it baffling that people are upset about that and stuff. Because it's not like they're glorifying Milton or nothing like that, not making him, praising him as a hero. He got his comeuppings and everything in the movie, but it's like, what do you expect? Like, do you really expect for people not to show the real commentary of what making movies were back in the day and all these sleazy people? I mean, it still goes on in the day, even in TV shows. Like, what was it? Maitland Ward, who played Rachel on Boy Meets World, she never slept with nobody on set. At least she hasn't mentioned she has. But like she said, at one point, like, you know, I think the people who run the show, they were trying to think of ideas to do with her character. And for some bizarre reason, they had her come in their office dressed in lingerie and pose for them as they was thinking of things to do with her character. She wrote about that. And I'm thinking to myself, one, why would you even do that? And two, why would they even do something like that? And that's because those were sleazy men who wanted to just check out Maitland Ward's like hot body and everything. Now, she's no longer a TV movie actress, but she's now a porno actress and everything, and she's very sex positive. I don't know how she feels about having to do that back in the day, pose for them in lingerie, because she's a very sex positive person who doesn't like nobody talking negative about like sexuality and a person's body and sex and stuff like that. So I don't know how she feels about that, but in a way, those men kind of, if she's okay with doing that, like mindset, those men pretty much groomed her into thinking that way. And that's what Scream 3 is trying to acknowledge with people. Not only that, but there are other people who are upset with the portrayal of Maureen Prescott and everything. They said that like there's a huge emphasis like on sex within like, you know, the movie, and like I said before, stars getting those roles. I just said that part. What is, oh, here it is. Somebody from Sci-Fi Wire, Emma Frazier, she talked about how Maureen is slut shamed and victim blamed throughout the entirety of like the franchise and stuff. And I'm thinking to myself, did she not watch any of the Scream movies and stuff? Now, she said that, I don't know what year because it doesn't say, but anyway, Maureen Prescott was not innocent. Maureen Prescott would cheat on her husband. Maureen Prescott had an affair on her husband with a teenage boy. That's statutory rape. I don't see Emma Frazier bringing that up and everything. And, you know, so slut shaming, victim shaming, this and that. Maureen ain't no angel, you know what I'm saying? Like, she cheated on her husband. She had an affair with Billy Loomis's dad and everything. And, you know, I'm not talking about the Hollywood stuff where she did, you know, to get movies and stuff, which she had no business sleeping with those producers. But like I said before, that's what a lot of those people did back in the day. But I'm talking about the stuff when she was married and stuff. Like, the thing she did was not okay. And everybody knew that she kept sleeping around except for like Sydney and stuff. So it's not slut shaming or victim shaming or blaming or this and that. Maureen was not an innocent person. Not to mention, like I said before, She messed around with a teenage boy. But yet, none of these people, none of these women who are writing these articles are mad about that and stuff. And I just find it weird. Like, I can understand you can find things that are actually problematic in like a movie. Like I said before, American Pie, I find that to be problematic. And a lot of these 90s movies I've been talking about, well, 90s and early 2000 movies I've been talking about, I literally point out a scene that is problematic. Rather than if they use like a racial slur, if they use a homophobic slur, if they do something sexually that's wrong. Like, okay, Mighty Ducks 3, or I think it was called 3D, the Mighty Ducks. Like, the Hispanic dude who can like skate really fast, he was crawling underneath the cafeteria table, and he looked up a girl's skirt, turned to the screen, and smiled. Now, back then, people would have found that funny because they're like, oh, you know, he's just a boy being a boy and everything. But in today's world, when you put on your rose-colored glasses, you can see that's a really jacked up scene and everything. It's totally messed up, and he had no business doing that. A similar thing happened in American Pie 2 when Stifler was walking in the class with Jim, and with the football player dude. The jock guy, I forgot his name, and he's like, oh, look at that girl's panties and everything like that, like looking up their skirts. Of course, back then people found that funny because Stifler's a very pervy, like, you know, disgusting guy. But when you look at it in today's world, you see that it's wrong and everything, and you see that his character is wrong. And that's one reason why his character has now evolved in like the fourth American Pie movie, to where he's not necessarily like that, and he even gets his comeuppings and stuff. So I don't understand, like, you know, how people are trying to assess this movie like it's written in today's world, when actually this movie and the things that they touch on that these women are complaining about is actually showing the real life nature of what like Hollywood was like back then, and what, you know, a cheating wife is like. Like, are you really gonna praise a cheating wife? Seriously, are you gonna praise a cheating wife? You won't praise a cheating husband, so why are you gonna praise a cheating wife? Plain and simple as that, you know what I'm saying? And I'm not trying to take away from the Me Too movement or the Time's Up movement, nothing like that. Because anybody who knows me, I am a firm supporter of that and stuff. And, you know, that was a pivotal time in our society that really exposed a lot of terrible people and stuff. And a lot of people nobody suspected. And, you know, but the thing I've noticed is that, like, okay, people also take issue, you know, with the whole slut shaming and all this and that, because Roman literally said that Milton made our mom into, like, you know, a whore and all this other stuff. And, you know, nobody knows why Maureen Prescott has a sex addiction. Nobody knows why. They never explained it in the movies because it was never necessary, because it's a slasher movie. It's not a drama. Now the Scream franchise with 5 and 6 have become a literal drama and stuff. But back in the good old slasher days, you just needed to know the backstory of the killer and the final girl, and that was it. And whatever motivation a person has. And, you know, when it comes to things like, you know, shaming a person, this and that, nobody never really looks and observes correctly. Like, you know, because of what happened to Maureen back in her 20s and stuff, when she was trying to be an actress, and all these sleazy Hollywood men were like sleeping with her to get roles and stuff, that could have like groomed her, you know what I'm saying? That could have damaged her psyche to where she did in her later years became like a serial cheater and everything. You know, she could have became like, you know, had a sex addiction because of the result of that. And people aren't looking at that, you know. There are people who literally are like that. People who've been abused or neglected or just like whatever, you know, that lives with them to the point where they feel like almost their nothingness. And they feel like in order for them to cope with life, they have to have that something that makes them feel special or whatever, you know. like a drug or something like that. And sex is very much like a drug. And other people's minds are just damaged beyond belief to where they feel like any, like, you know, and bad things that happen to them, like I said before, it results in their future. Like, take, say, a girl who's been like assaulted by a guy, right? And like, you know, a lot of people never stop to think, you know, what toll that has on a person's brain. But one thing I haven't observed with like women I've talked to in the past and friends I had in college who were assaulted at a young age, I observed a lot of different traits about them. Some turned out completely different. And also grown women too. But I mean, they're all grown anyway. But you know what I'm saying? This is back like when I was in my 20s and I was in college. And I had a bunch of like friends back in the day. And then, you know, like other people I talked to like online. And I've noticed something about a lot of these women who were assaulted. Some turn out to just flat out hate sex after that. Like what happened to them in the past results in them not wanting to be with nobody. Or it results in them not wanting to be with a man and then later with a woman and everything because they will feel safer around that of a woman. Others, on the other hand, I have noticed became like sex freaks and everything. And it's like they have a huge addiction because of that, because they was tricked at a young age to think that, you know, it's the greatest thing in the world, to where as they got older, that's all they literally want and everything, you know. To them, it's normal and stuff. And to others, it's an addiction. So when people are saying, oh, they're victim blaming Maureen or calling her, slut shaming her, this and that, because of what she did in her older days, it is a result of what happened to her when she was in Hollywood and everything. You know, like the reason why she's so addicted to sex is because of how abused and used she was in her 20s. And people don't stop to use their brains for a couple of seconds to realize that. Instead, they just switch on the whole, oh, they're shaming this person. Oh, it's always the victim blaming of a woman, this and that. And people, and I don't understand these advocates and these feminists that say things like that. Like, they never stop to actually think and observe and everything. It's kind of like the people who have like mommy or daddy issues and stuff. Like, say you're like a girl growing up and you have daddy issues. When you grow up, most likely you're gonna be with either an older man or a man who's gonna abuse you. Same thing with a guy. If you have mommy issues, most likely you're gonna date some woman that's like older, because in your mind you're trying to like fill in the blanks and the gaps of that neglect that you had like growing up and stuff like that. And people never ever want to think. And also with the whole shaming thing, like I'm getting so tired of people using that phrase, especially when it comes to a person's body. Unless you're flat out making fun of somebody being heavy or somebody being skinny, then that is like body shaming right there. When you literally call a person fat and like, oh, you're so fat and ugly, or oh, when you run, I can see the cellulite, something like that. That is fat shaming. That is body shaming. But when a person says, hey, you know, you're gaining a little bit more weight and you're not as healthy as you used to be and you're slower now and you can get diabetes or you can have heart problems, that is not body shaming. But yet people want to allude that to body shaming. Same thing with anorexia and bulimia. There are a couple of celebs that I follow, and they are thin. Not skinny, I mean thin. Like to the point where you can see bones and everything. And one had an eating disorder many years ago that she admitted, and it has come back. And whenever somebody says online, are you okay? You don't look healthy. And oh, this and that. Then you always get those stands that be all like, oh, why are you body shaming her? Why does a man feel like he needs to, like, you know, put his 2 cents in to, like, you know, tell a woman how her body should look? No, she is thin like a toothpick and everything. There's something wrong with her, and nobody wants to say nothing about that because people are like, oh, you're shaming somebody. No, you're looking out for somebody. So I get so tired of that word shaming and everything. Nobody really knows what body shaming means in the year 2023. This is why I don't talk to people. People get on my nerve. People never want to stop and think. People just want to be like a cheerleader and everything and root for their celebrity. Well, your celebrity is about to end up in the hospital again. You know what I'm saying? And I just don't understand people like that. Alrighty. Well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.